So let's talk.
Yeah, I just want to ask you, so I know you're a bit of a music concert,
Yeah,
as well as a top producer. I want
I
to ask,
guess so.
that's what they say.
That's what they say. Yeah,
I want to ask you about the remix. I mean, do you think the remix is an art form in itself?
absolutely. I think the remix is an art form in itself, and I also feel that no song is ever finished. Every song, like for me as a musician and composer, I feel like I never ever consider a song to be finished. The way that people feel like, it took 13 years for, I don't know, who's Bach to write that one piece of music. For me, I feel like I finish a piece of music, I put it out, but then I could reanimate that piece of music endlessly for the rest of my lifetime. And that's kind of what the remix is about for me. For the remix for me is about, you get some parts, you get vocal, you get um, a bass line, you get harmony. I mean, there are limitations. It's like you can maybe only push the keys that you're working in so far. You can only get so dissonant, but there are endless possibilities. So the remix really to me is an art form, and I love to do them, and I love it when people do them for me, because it's really exciting and interesting to see how they interpret it and what they heard that I didn't hear, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I hate it, but it's not necessarily about my opinion. So
That's what I wanted to ask you. What if somebody else reanimates your remix? What if, say, Carl Craig remixed one of your tracks and everybody thought it was amazing? How do you feel about it?
I mean, it kind of happened already with Frankie Knuckles, and I had that was I mean, it's a weird thing because as a person who has had a very specific life that has the same range of emotion that everyone else has, I think. I don't feel joy that often. And when I heard that Frankie Knuckles remix, within the first minute, I think 1 minute 20, uh, when I opened up the file, I had a real moment of joy. Because I heard that I knew that Frankie listened to my song, cared about my song, and did something to my song that was really special. And so when someone does a beautiful job, like taking a piece of work that I've created and making it their own and making it something even more special and making it speak to hundreds or thousands of other people that I could have never done, that's a beautiful thing.
So it's an act of love.
It's an act of love, absolutely.
Nice,
Absolutely.
nice. Okay, people will write about you and they talk about disco punk and various genre mutations. What's the next genre mutation?
Genre mutation, it's really hard for me. I mean, I, I sort of, I, I'm the kind of person that has always written music. So like from the age of 13, I was playing the piano, and my parents had me with a teacher, notating it, trying to write proper classical music. And I went to school, university, and I studied, and I pursued that. But at the same time, very early on, around 15 or 16, I started collecting records. So my interests were kind of split. It was like I was either completely focused on research and like learning about the history of music, whether it be, I mean, the history of like disco. Sometimes it had to be, because of the school I was in, the history of 20th century classical music, or it was my focus was on writing music. So my music tended to be in some ways referential. So what ended up happening with that first Hercules and Love Affair record was that people kind of heard it and said it is a referential thing. It was like referring to disco. It was referring to these different moments in time, and in some ways it truly was doing that. But for me, on this next record, I wanted to do something that was a little bit more about my own compositional voice, and like, so I left behind, I kind of tried to shake off this like notion that I had to reference that record or this record or that record. And the new record is much more, I think, focused on my composition and focused on songwriting. And so genre mutation is a hard thing for me to talk about. I mean, I think personally, where I've gone, I spent 10 years, 11 years collecting disco records, And then I turned my attention back towards the club sound that I was originally in love with, which was house music, you know? And so I started collecting those old house records and finding all of those old house tracks. And so there's maybe perhaps something in the air of new house, you know? Something along the lines of like, you know, a new garage house, or like we're gonna hear soulful vocals over simple kick drums and like fat bass lines, and it's going to be something even more stripped down than disco, less organic. Maybe a new house is something that I could see happening. On the new album, there's definitely a lot of influence from like Chicago and just like that, basically that house sound, Todd Terry and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, that would be my guess, but in general, I personally am trying to become less referential and more focus on my voice as a composer outside of references.
One more. Who do you want to listen to in your album? Which new people?
Which new people?
Yeah.
Do you mean group of people or one person?
Group of people. Who do you want to get with this new album? Who do you want to bring your sound to? At the moment, maybe it's a hipster crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. I don't really think about our fan base, but I think, you know, I want the young. Honestly, I think we get. I have a couple of listeners. Like our fan base is broken up in different ways. I definitely think grandmothers are part of our fan base. I'm not necessarily aiming for them anymore. I really would love the 19, 20-year-old lad and ladettes to really jump to it, you know? I'd really love to hit it with the youngsters on this one. So I'm hoping we get, you know, a young interest, pique the young people's interest, and get them turned on to, you know, the sound that we're providing them, the new sound, the new Hercules sound, you know?
Yeah, you want to make it a bit younger.
Yeah, I do. But it's going to be a hard sell though, because there's some really sophisticated, like soft music on the record as well. So, but I don't know. It's for boys, it's for girls, it's for moms, it's for daughters, it's for sons, it's for fathers, it's for grandmas, it's for everybody. So.
Alright, maybe you can do it with a live show.
Yeah. Tonight I think we'll do it.
Alright.
It's going to be good.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Nice one, Andy.
Thank you.